What's up, guys? Bear with me here. I'm kind of getting things reset back up, kind of greasing the wheels here. So bear with me. Cheese in a dryer, what's up, buddy? I see you on there, man. Bear with me here. I'm just getting things ironed out, and I'm gonna be on here. What is up, guys? Welcome back. Glad to be here. Appreciate your patience on that setup. It's been a few months since I've had to operate this tech work by myself, and so it took a little bit for me to kind of remember what to do and also make sure everything's running. And I hope it is, by the way. I'm not quite sure if everything is operational. I'm hoping it is. A lot of things weren't messed with since I was gone. And so I just kind of, you know how stuff just constantly updates all the time. And so that's kind of what I was checking. I noticed there was a lot of things that had changed, you know, like the Restream program, Facebook Live, like the whole setup is just different. It's just constantly changing. But anyways, yeah, so welcome back to the Virus Podcast. My name is Ben. I'm your host. This is episode 79. And if you're new to this channel, or if you've never seen one of these episodes, basically, this is not a COVID-19 podcast. I know it's called The Virus, but it's not that. It's a podcast where I focus on contagious combos and viral viewpoints. And more importantly, we really focus on self-improvement. And as you know, I'm part of the Grant Cardone licensee partnership. And so I highly advocate 10x actions, you know, and really just improving on yourself and taking massive levels of action in your life to really have you succeed. And I just like helping people. And so the way that Grant Cardone and all the stuff that I've absorbed through his content has helped me change my life, change my business, change my family relationships, my friend relationships. I like helping people in turn. I like sharing information. I like providing value to people. And so here I am, and this is one of my platforms that I like to use, and this is one of the stages that I use to really project that out there and to get that attention to do so. So here we are. Like I said, it's been, oh my God, how long has it been? It's been since the summertime, because the summertime was really why I didn't want to do the podcast up here, because it was hot and there's no air conditioner up here. I didn't want to really get one in here because I'm really tight on room, and air conditioners make a lot of noise, so it'd be really hard for me to cut that audio without it clipping. So I just decided to hang it up for a little bit. And then I kind of fell into this vortex of excuse making, like people have, people do. And unfortunately, one of my biggest things that happened to me was I got sick. I got the COVID back in September. The whole month of September was just shit. It really just was unproductive for me. I just had reduced levels of action. I didn't do anything. I kind of went into retreat, which is almost the worst level of action. And I'm going to actually talk about that here for today's episode. I'm going to talk about the 4 degrees of action. But yeah, for me, that September month, it really just it just hammered me, and so I was not very active at all within both businesses. Just being present, I was kind of disobeying the first rule of success and not showing up. So, anyways, here I am back, happy to help with anything, and also just looking forward to just providing more value. So. Yeah, so the plugs, the live streams you're going to find on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and then you'll see some posted content on Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify. So keep your eyes peeled for that content as well. Sometimes I'm still kind of on the fence whether or not I'm going to be doing these live streams like this, or if I shouldn't. I kind of like the fact that people can kind of jump in on a conversation. Although I know that people are a bit reserved and don't really like to do that, but I'm going to encourage you to do that. Jump in on a conversation. That's exactly why I do live streams. That's exactly why I do this. I want to get your guys' thoughts. I want to know if you got value out of this, or if what I'm talking about is just a bunch of horse manure and you guys don't enjoy what I'm talking about. So regardless, I'm going to keep doing it because I know the stuff that I'm going to be focused on, it truly provides value. And so the people that may have a negative viewpoint on some of this stuff, they can sit back on the sidelines and they can be average. They can choose not to grow as a person. I know me personally, I'm always looking for ways to improve. I know that I always can be doing something better, and I've had some pretty good successes in my life. I'm not even close to where I want to be, but you know, a little bit about myself. I guess, yeah, let me give you a quick briefing of myself one more time. If you guys don't know anything about me, more specifically, I'll talk about the last 6 years of my life. But prior to that, you know, I grew up not really with a lot of resources. You know, we were pretty poor. Um, I guess I didn't really have the type of parenting guidance that I needed. Not to say anything about my mom, not to say anything bad about my stepdads, but you know, I was hoping for, you know, I could have used more guidance. I could have used more mentorship and a little more direction. And I just didn't have that as a child. And so I was really lost. And I was looking for this guidance in the wrong people. And I was doing a lot of these things for the wrong reasons. And I found myself making decisions for the wrong reasons my entire life, all the way until I was about 35, 35 or so. And so I got in trouble a lot as a kid. You know, I was in juvenile quite a bit. A lot of you may not know that, but I was in juvenile a lot. I spent a lot of time away from family. I went to, I mean, I remember one time I got in trouble for, and by the way, I did drugs almost my entire life as well. More particularly, I smoked weed for 25 years of my life straight. And a lot of that time was every day. And so I really wasted a lot of my time and wasted a lot of what effort I could have been putting into my life to be in a better position than I am now. But yeah, one specific scenario was I got caught at school with some weed on me. And I had already had a record with the criminal, you know, system. And so what happened was I went to juvenile hall for 2 months, and then immediately after I got out of that, went straight to a drug inpatient treatment facility for another 2 months. And so I was gone from home for 4 months. And then actually about a month after that or so, I went to go stay with my sister. So I was actually gone from my home, where the town, you know, I was living in, for almost half a year. And so, you know, that's an example of how just lost I was, you know, vandalizing, you know, victimizing people. I spent a lot of my childhood doing that. And unfortunately, I'm not proud to say that, but it did teach me a lot of lessons. And it really kind of illustrates how far my life has come from that point. And so basically, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I was lost. And so going, you know, fast forward into the last 6 years of my life, up until now, I worked for a job for 10 years as a carpenter. You know, I kind of got my stuff together. I started doing what everybody suggested to me was the right thing to do. And that was to work for a company for, you know, X amount of years. I thought that's what I was taught, is that you should work for a company for 30 years, retire, and then, you know, just be comfortable, be average. And that's how I lived my life. That's the majority of how I lived my life for the last 6 years. And so I was really complacent and really unhappy with this job that I worked at for 10 years. And I realized I was meant for more. And like a lot of people, I was thinking, you know, to myself, like, this cannot be it. I have way too much to offer. I know I have more potential. I just can't see myself doing this until I retire in my 60s, and probably by then it'd be in the 70s. And so, you know, I was a guy that really didn't take risk. And so the first thing I did was take a risk. Got offered a position with a business partner, and someone I had met through doing side work through those years. She was a very successful lady. She was in real estate. She was a multimillionaire, had very successful businesses. And so she decided that, you know, I should go into business with her. She kind of made the suggestion to me that, you know, hey, you're going to have to quit your job to work this. And the thought hadn't even crossed my mind. And it took me about a week to think about it, and I just made the decision. I thought, you know what, if I'm ever going to get anywhere in life, I need to make some big changes. I need to make some big moves, and I need to go all in on something. It's never going to happen otherwise. And so that's what I did. I quit my 10-year job, walked away from it, started this business. Unfortunately, it was the worst type of business to get in for me. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Again, chasing money was this reason. I got into the cannabis industry, where we then built out like a $500,000 location, and probably spent more than that, realistically. And I think I spent 9 months building out this location. There was a house, there was a storage unit in the back, a big RV storage unit, 20 units, 4,000 square foot building that I built out, closed in, and basically converted into an indoor operation, with 36 lights and a massive setup. Let's just make it put it that way. It was a really big setup for one person operating it that didn't know what the hell he was doing. And so it took me 9 months. I was on YouTube all the time, excavating, running natural gas lines, sheetrocking massive areas, insulating, running some electrical conduit, doing some HVAC, condensate line, flare lines. I mean, I was doing all kinds of stuff that I didn't know how to do, but yet was accomplishing. And so it was a huge thing. Unfortunately, I found myself in a position where I had to sell this product on the black market. And so what I was doing was meeting people on Craigslist, Facebook, here and there, you name it, meeting up with individuals I didn't know. And I put myself in some very dangerous situations. Sometimes I would be in rooms counting $50,000 in fives, tens, and 20s with a room full of 6 to 8 people I just didn't know. And if you've never been in that situation, it's very nerve-wracking. I've done that several times, and the biggest life-changing moment was when I actually got robbed and I got shot at. And what had happened was, individual robbed me. I chased him. As I was chasing him, there's 3 of them. As I was chasing him, one of the individuals stopped, turned, and shot at me. Luckily, it hit my truck door, and the bullet stayed in the door, hit a little half-inch piece of metal inside the door, and stayed in the door, about an inch low from the window, the bottom of the window opening. And so that changed a lot of things for me. Really scared the shit out of me, and got me reevaluating the industry I got into again, and why I was doing the things I was doing. And it also got me to understand that I was doing things for the wrong reasons. I was chasing money. I thought I was going to be a millionaire by doing this business, and it actually didn't. We weren't hitting the numbers that we thought because of all these roadblocks, setbacks, and we just weren't being realistic with it. Plus, I had a business partner that was just really unrealistic, and so it just didn't work out. Let's put it that way. And so that was a really, that's not even the half of it. Like, the other things I was doing was like mailing 10 pounds of product in the mail to all the way across the United States several times. I must have done that. I must have mailed out 150 pounds of that stuff accumulated over time. And so that was very risky, putting my life at risk, putting my freedom at risk, putting I put my daughter in jeopardy by, potentially, putting her in a position where she wouldn't have a dad that's going to be around. And thinking about that now, that's absolutely selfish of me. And but that's just to give you a little bit of a background of me up until now. So after that happened, I decided to walk away from that business. I was in that business for 2 years, walked away from that, and decided to start my own business immediately after that. I did that, and now I'm going into the 4th year of my business, which is a home improvement business. I've turned that business into a 7-figure business. Also now became a partner with Grant Cardone, and that's really who has helped me scale my business and provide value to people. And so now I got a second business where I do personal coaching. I also do business consulting with other companies to help them increase their revenue by getting their team on a measurable accountability system, I help them with all kinds of things: follow up, cold call, negotiating, how to master things like that in and around sales. And so really thankful to be in the position I am right now, as opposed to what I've been through in the past. And so more specifically, the last 6 years. And so that's why I talk a lot about self-improvement. And that's why I use this platform to really lean on and emphasize the things that I've done in my life and why you guys should potentially be doing that, why you should be listening to that voice in your head. So anyways, anybody who's popping in here, don't be scared, stick around. All right, I see people popping in and out. And so yeah, stick around. This is some valuable stuff. If you're not doing anything, I'm probably not going to be doing this for 2 hours. I'm probably going to be doing it for an hour, hour and a half maybe. I just want to talk about these points here and really tell you about the importance of these things and how I've implemented them into my life and how most of the people that I work with do the same thing as well. So let's get rolling on this. All right. Forgot how dry your throat gets when you're sitting here talking so much. So I want to talk a little bit about the 4 degrees of action, okay? And what these podcasts are going to be, and by the way, this is not just going to be me talking all the time. I want to really start having these podcasts be more interview based. I'm going to have more guests on the podcast so that I get more enjoyment out of that. I get a little more fulfillment from actually kind of riffing with people. I love hearing stories. I love hearing other people's stories. I love sharing stories. I like comparing notes. And I just am very interested in other people's lives, and where they've been, what they're doing now, especially successful people. And so that's kind of where this podcast is going to end up going. And so this is just kind of a refresher podcast episode for me to kind of get things warmed up again, make sure I got everything working, and that I can actually operate it still by myself, because it is a big task running a podcast by yourself. Especially when you're doing all the technical support while you're actually trying to provide the content as well. So let's talk about the 4 degrees of action. This is straight out of the 10X rule book. I've read that book. It's the book that changed my life. I've read it once, but I've listened to the audiobook 4 times. And every time I do that, I get something new out of it every single time. And so what I want to do is just kind of break that down, and I took a lot of notes, and I'm going to start diving. Anytime that I'm doing an episode by myself, I'm going to kind of dive into the value of that book and kind of the bullet points that Grant talks about in that book. So if you haven't read it, you should. If you don't got it, reach out to me. I can give you a free copy, or I can send you the MP3 audiobook, and you can listen to it on your own time. The audiobook is great. Grant delivers it. Me personally, I get a little more impact when I hear the audiobooks, because it's the actual author's voice, and I love hearing Grant talk. He's got a lot of conviction in his voice, and he's a very influential guy. And so just reach out to me if you're interested in hearing any of that. So let's talk about the 4 degrees of action. There are 4 degrees of action. There's no action, there's retreat, there's average action, and then there's massive action. And I think you know which one that we're going to encourage. I encourage, Grant encourages. It's obviously massive action, but let's talk a little bit about these other degrees of action real quick. So no action, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're not doing anything. You have made a commitment to yourself that you're not going to do anything to change anything on, you're just not going to do anything on whatever the task is at hand. Retreat is the exact opposite. It's actually worse than no action. It's that you're going backwards. You're making an effort to stay away from ever being put in the position to ever make any kind of action. So it's a little bit backwards. But what's even more dangerous than those two is average action. And I want you guys to listen to this, because when I first heard this, I was confused. I was thinking to myself, like, how could that be? The average action is worse than no action or going into retreat. And the reason for that, a couple reasons for that is, One of those reasons is that you think, or you're telling yourself when you're doing average action, that you're actually doing something. And so when you do a little bit of something and you think that that is actually going to generate your results, you are much more devastated when you find out that you're not even moving the needle at all, that nothing happened, that nothing is working at all, and you're kind of disappointed. And then you set yourself up for that disappointment, and it kind of gets discouraging after that as well. So being average is actually way more dangerous than you would think because of that reason. At least with no action or going into retreat, you know what you've done. You know where you're at. You know that you know what kind of results that generates, right? No action and going into retreat, and you're pretty certain you know what's going to happen to that. Nothing's going to happen. You can't possibly have results by doing nothing. And so that's why having average action is completely dangerous, puts you in a real vulnerable situation, whether it's in your life or in business or in general. And again, massive action is where it's at. Like whatever action you think that it takes to do something, do it 10 times more, and maybe you might actually hit your target, or at least get something moved. You might get that needle moved a little bit. But that's really what it takes. It takes a lot of action to actually see any kind of results. And that's where a lot of people make the mistake. They underestimate the amount of action that's required to actually see some results. And the answer to that is massive action. But let's talk a little bit about average right now. I want to dive into this a little bit more and why average is the most dangerous. So, like I was saying, I got sick in September, right? That was an example of me making an excuse and, being subjected to, operating at average levels. And then as soon as I hit an emergency like that, I went into retreat, and really all productivity just kind of seized and came to a halt. And so, using me as an example, even just getting sick, something that's completely out of your control, right, can really put you at risk if you're operating average levels. Excuse me. So I could have done some things. I could be a bigger business. I could be, I haven't, even though the business is doing good, I haven't put myself into, I haven't had a person that can do the job that I do. And the job that I do primarily in this business now is project management. And like what I mean by that is doing the permits on the back end, especially if I got to work with HOAs, homeowners associations, or I got to work with the cities to actually get a job approved. And then also got to get the engineering to send to the city. So there's a lot of things I do on the back end that requires a lot of my attention. And that's the one position I haven't been able to fill. And that's my fault. I hold myself accountable for that. Had I not been operating at average levels of action, and I get that position filled, nothing would have came to a halt. I wouldn't have decreased the marketing. That's another thing. I do all the marketing. So if I had someone that just did the marketing on the levels that I expect, the kind of levels that I know are going to actually make a difference, then the business would operate without me, whether or not I'm sick or I'm not, or if something happens. And so that is an example, using me as an example of how being average is going to put you at risk and really put you at a level of danger. All right. And so basically when average action meets a little bit of resistance or hits a roadblock or hits an obstacle, any kind of challenge, you get hammered, and then you also become a target. And so same goes for business. If you are not attacking marketing or anything with massive amounts of action, the second that you get hit with some resistance and some challenges, you're going to get knocked on your butt, and the marketplace is going to punish you. Same thing in life. If you just operate an average, this is so true for business and life. So relatable. And if you're operating average levels, and let's say you get hit with like a huge medical bill, or just a big emergency happens, and you don't have money or resources or any kind of capital to actually help take care of this emergency, that's an example of how you're just going to get knocked down and you're going to get caught off guard. And the responsibility is yours. You have nobody to blame but yourself. If I'm being harsh about it, you got to hold yourself accountable. You got to start. The reason you're in that position is because you haven't operated at higher levels of action. It's just been average, 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 normal, normal, normal. And that is completely the most dangerous position to be in. Trust me, I know this from experience. And if you're probably listening to this, chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. Most people don't operate their lives with massive action, and it's a discipline. It is a commitment. Absolutely, it's tough. It is absolutely. But if you structure your life that way, to where you just don't know any different, you kind of get a little obsessive about it, which I'll talk a little bit here about obsession and how that can be used and harnessed as a quality. You got to just be able to do that. So yeah, let's see. It's going to always fail you. So yeah, being average is going to always fail you, and it's going to put you at risk is kind of what I'm saying. When it comes to the business, you know, how I told you how the marketplace is going to punish you. One of the biggest problems that businesses have is that they are obscure. Nobody knows them. And the whole idea of starting a business is to grow it, right? You want to increase profits, you want to increase the revenue, you want to increase reach, you want to get known, you want more customers, you want more lead generation. That's the whole point of generating a business, starting a business. And most businesses go out of business because they are obscure and they just can't put in the levels of action they need to in the marketplace. Even organically, people think it costs a lot of money. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It takes a discipline to just organically post, get content out there all the time. And this is, I mean, again, that takes discipline, but that's what it takes. And you got to be omnipresent. You have to be omnipresent. You got to be everywhere. You got to let people know. If you're talking about a business, you got to let them know your business is there. You want to be thought of whenever it's time for them to do business with somebody in that field. You want to be the first to be thought of. And the same in life. You know what I mean? If you want to be like a good friend, you want to be a good a person for advice. You want to be someone who's looked at as a resource in any way. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You can't really hide in the shadows all the time, and you can't really just kind of step in and out and be obscure like a failed business is. It's really the same thing in life too. And so, money follows attention. I've talked about that quite a bit. Grant really leans on that as well. And it's so true. Money follows attention, and not saying you should be chasing money, but you should be chasing attention. You should be looking for that attention, and you should be looking to do it in an honest fashion. Be genuine, be honest. Don't chase the money. All that stuff will come to you. It's just going to gravitate to you if you just really implement those characteristics into your personality. Things will come to you. Resources will come to you, and it will come to you in abundance too. And it might take time. I've talked about this quite a bit. It might take a month, it might take a year, it might take 5 years, it might take 10 years. But if it's a commitment that you're ready for, and it's something you're willing to actually put that much effort into, good things are going to happen to you. It just is. And so, let's see. Average teaches you to be reliant on others and the economy. This is good. So this is huge. Being average means that you're kind of relying on the economy to help you, to pull you out of emergencies, to save your ass all the time. And that is, again, not the position everybody wants to be in, but 76% of people in the United States and climbing are living that way. They're living paycheck to paycheck. These are true statistics. And I don't know about you, but that scares the shit out of me. And I've lived paycheck to paycheck most of my life and found that that is not the way I want to keep living my life until I die. And so instead of relying on the economy, you can create your own economy. If you get a skill set, if you get some kind of something established to where you can create income for yourself. It doesn't have to be a business per se, but you can figure out a way to provide value to somebody, and you can really lean on that and put it out there into the universe, into social media. Use social media. I just made a post about this today. Social media is one of the best resources. It's free. One of the best organic platforms out there. All you do is post, you do a video, get comfortable with doing videos. People love connecting with people on a personal level, and the best way to do that is with a video. So start doing that. Let's see. So yeah, it teaches you to be reliant on the economy. So create your own economy, be independent. That's where I was going with that. Let's see here. And this is the way I would, okay, so let me use myself as an example again, all right? I was able to scale my home improvement business in an economy that was in a recession, all right? The last 2 years that we've been in this pandemic is the best 2 years that the business had. The reason for that is because while everybody was retreating, while everybody was kind of holding on to their resources and tucking away and not really advertising as much, not really putting themselves out there, being super obscure, I'm over here expanding. And this is exactly what Grant did in the 2008 collapse too with the real estate. So I took that advice seriously and I applied it. So I tripled down on my marketing in that specific time. And that was the best thing I could have done because it got me to be omnipresent. Especially when it first started happening, that first 6 months of the pandemic and the lockdown and all that stuff started happening, I really leaned on the marketing. And I got a lot of pushback for it. I got a lot of negativity from it. I got people, I was doing videos and I remember people commenting saying, hey, it's people like you that's keeping this pandemic going. What are you guys? You guys are a bunch of jackasses. Why are you out there working when there's a disease killing people, a virus? So trust me, I heard it all. And what I wasn't being, neglectful. I wasn't, being selfish. The type of industry I'm in, we're being safe. But the whole point of this is I was expanding in a contraction in an economy that was retracting, and so I was able to do that with massive levels of action, and I really stood out among a bunch of average businesses and average people, and so it really worked out for me. And this is why I keep doing that in the second business I got here with the personal development and the business consulting. And so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep doing what works. Slowing down and being average is just not the answer. And it's the most dangerous position that I realized I was putting myself in as well, because the first 2 years of business that I was in, I didn't make any money. A little bit more in the second year, but the first year I made zilch. Matter of fact, I probably lost money. And so a great example of using me and my business experience during that recession time as that example. And like Grant likes to say, never waste a good recession. So I love that. So he talks about in the 10X rulebook, he makes a statement that your level of action to accomplish your goal is determined by how big or small you set that goal. All right. And I know what he's saying. So if you're going to aim low, if you're going to make your goal reasonable, if you're going to make it achievable, your chances are you're not going to hit that goal. Because if you set your goal low, guess what you're going to do with your actions? They're going to be low. What you should do is be aiming high. Never reduce your target. Never reduce your goals, your dreams, and make them big. Make them so big, because the chances are more than likely you're going to come up short anyway. So I would much rather come up short on my big goal than to come up short on my low goal. And so set them high and never reduce that target. I mean, that's one thing, that's one mistake that people make. You hear a lot of ill advice from people that, oh, you should make the goals reasonable. You should make them more digestible, more attainable. And that's just terrible advice. You can have targets within your goal. All right. There's ways to restructure that. You should never reduce your goal though. Have a high target. You should be reaching for the stars, and then you should be setting targets within that goal on a more of a a micro level, on how to, the targets that you actually set should be doing something to get you closer to that goal. And so structure it that way. Never reduce your target. Never aim low, because you're going to come up short on that low goal. So aim high. If you're going to come up short on your big goals, all right, and your big targets. And that's my suggestion on that. Let me talk about obsession again, all right, because I brought it up a little bit earlier, and I want to talk about this because there's a lot of people that think, the society has portrayed obsessed or being having an obsession with something as being negative or damaging or a disease, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, whatever. That's very, very bad information, in my opinion. The most successful people out there are obsessive. They are very obsessed with achieving their goals. If you talk to, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, all these people, Elon Musk, you think those guys are not obsessed about what they're doing? Absolutely they are. And it's a high level obsession that is feeding their levels of action to hit their goals. And so be obsessed. Figure out what you want to be obsessed about and lean into that. Just really dig into the levels of action that you need to put behind your obsession, because that's what's going to actually drive you. If you're not obsessed about it in some form or on some kind of level, again, you're gonna be operating at low levels of action, and you're just gonna be hitting low targets. So don't buy into that bullshit that obsession is a bad thing. It just simply isn't. Use that, harness it, and apply it to how you want to hit your goals. So let's talk about massive action again. The best action there is, hands down. I've been doing this for a little bit, and I've been playing with it. There's times where like I said, operating at massive levels of action is a discipline. It takes a lot of conscious thinking. It takes a lot of planning. I have a list. I wish I could show it to you. It's on my wall. I've got it posted all throughout my house. It's my actual daily tasks to follow. I can read it to you. It keeps me on my action, keeps me operating at high levels of action, and it keeps me focused. So the first thing is do a workout plan. I'm not a guy that heavily works out. I don't have, although I'm going to change that a little bit here, but I do like my basic 30 to 50 push-ups, 30 to 50 sit-ups in the morning, just to get the blood pumping and just to get me feeling like I actually did something with my body. Then I write down the goals. Write down my goals. And again, sometimes I miss that because of a morning where I might, just things going on, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it later, and then I don't do it. But writing the goals down is the second thing. Get Malia ready for school and work. Then I get the crews lined up for the projects. I do 30 minutes of Cardone University training. I do a little bit of role playing. Used to do it by myself primarily, but now I'm going to be doing that with another partner. And so role playing, by the way, is the best kind of training you can do. Very good in sales, but honestly, you can do role playing in every scenario. Me and my daughter do it all the time. I do role playing with her just to get her uncomfortable to talk to people. I'm like, come on, Malia, let's role play a little bit. Like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Things like that, just to get her a little more comfortable talking to people. So great way, by the way. Kind of went on a different path there, but then I look at my content schedule and I do my posts, whether it's my blog, my personal the PPC, which is my home improvement business, or my Grant Cardone partnership. Then I work on the checklist and make my necessary phone calls. Usually that ends up being the home improvement business. And then I got to remind myself, because sometimes I'll just work my way past lunch. I have to actually have that written down on my daily task, is to stop, take care of my energy and my health, and eat something. And then I look back at my content schedule again, because that's just something I do, and I value the massive amounts of content that I push out to there on the home improvement business and the coaching business as well. And so then I pick Malia up, do some homework with her. If I don't do the reading with her then, I'll do it at night. Work on my checklist, make the phone calls again, look at my content again, and start doing content posting again. And then come 6 o'clock, it's dinner time, do the same thing, make sure I'm eating. And then it's time with Malia, doing the reading, whether we watch a movie or reread or do some kind of activity together. That's what we do on that. And then now more recently, I've added working on my book into that, because I've been working on trying to finish my book, because it's just taking forever. I've been procrastinating on finishing this book, and it's been something I really want to finish and really add to my resume too, because I think it's a book that people can get value out of as well. And then after that, content again, all the way till the night. So I have content posting 1, 2, 3, 4 times a day, all right? And I do more than that, because I do it for multiple different pages. And then at night, say a prayer, go to bed. That's it. That's my daily task. But the reason I brought that up was because that's what I've set up for myself to keep on these massive levels of action. If I had no direction, it'd be hard to do that. And that's why I said it takes a lot of discipline. And for me, writing stuff down and following a checklist, following the targets and the goals. We also have a 10X planner that we do, that we write our goals in. And this is something we've been doing for a while. Again, just writing the goals down every day. Writing down what, goals, quote of the day, successes, goals at night too. So this is something that I've really been implementing into my life as well. So it doesn't have to be a 10X planner, but some form. So the brain remembers things 60,000 times more than actually just hearing it. So if you write this stuff down, anything of value, you write it down, you're going to retain it a lot more, and it's going to be more relevant in your mind. And the more you write down your goals, it's going to kind of be on the forefront of your mind, and you're going to have a reason, and you're going to be reminded of why you're doing the things you're doing. Is the things that you're doing actually contributing to your goal? It's just a great way to stay focused. And so I would highly recommend that to anybody who's wanting to set goals and actually move towards your goals, because anything doing once is definitely worth doing every day, I would say, at least once a week. And when we're talking about goal setting, it shouldn't just be once a year. Once a year is just so unrealistic. Everybody waits till New Year's to set their goal, and they never stick with it. Whatever that goal is, it just never carries throughout the year, and that's because it's not on their mind. In order to do that, I would highly recommend you write it down. So let me take a quick drink here. I'm gonna finish powering through this here. All right. So, yeah, I guess I was kind of talking about goals there. Your goals should be taken seriously. And you need to, so when we're talking about goals, you need to be 100% sold on you, your purpose, and the value that you bring to the table. Because that needs to be in alignment with your goal. When those two things merge, you get a little bit more clarity. And more specifically, I'm going to do a podcast and talk about, even if it's with somebody else, I want to talk about purpose, because one of the most valuable things that I've really come to terms with myself is finding my purpose. What's really helped me in this life that I've been lost in for 37 years. I'm 38 now, but it was finding my purpose. I really only found my purpose, even though I've been involved with Cardone for almost a year. I've had my own business for 4 years. I still didn't know what my purpose was. I was just kind of trying to create my economy, still creating my own economy. I just knew I didn't want to work for anybody, at least not making what I was making. Not saying working for somebody is bad. I don't want people to get that confused. I'm just saying that you can do both. You can start your own business and you can work for somebody. But what I'm saying is my purpose really, God, what is the word for it? It's the most beneficial epiphany I've ever had in my whole life. When I realized, like, holy shit, I think I know what my purpose is. And it just became so much clearer. Everything just became so much clearer. The actions that I'm taking throughout my day, it always comes to my mind, like, is this contributing to my purpose? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this something I want to do long term? And in case you're wondering what my purpose is to contribute and to help others succeed. All right? Whether it's in business, in life, I want people to use me as a resource, and I want to make a massive impact in somebody's life in the most positive way. That's it. That is my purpose. And I'm very convicted with that and I'm confident with that because of the things I've done in my own life and the amounts of success that I've generated in my own life. And so I really like to just have people tap into their own brain and have them get a little more control of their own thought process. And that's my purpose, and I get so much value out of that. So I know if I'm doing that, and I know that I'm doing that throughout the day, and my actions are contributing to that, it makes me feel really good about myself. And it also, when I talk about the clarity, I also make sure that things I do are contributing to that. So it's not like even a question of whether or not it's doing that. I make sure and I structure my daily routines to really cater to my purpose, if that makes any sense. But like I said, one of the most beneficial things is to find your purpose. So ask yourself this question. Matter of fact, I'm going to save that for the quick question at the end of the podcast here, which is only about 10 minutes. I'm only going to do the podcast for an hour this day because, like I said, I was just kind of getting the gears oiled up, things getting situated, and just getting the program dialed in because, like I said, it's been a while. It's been about 6 months since we've done a podcast, and I do all this myself, so I didn't want to run into any technical difficulties. As you guys, if anybody who's been with me long term on this, you know what I'm saying. I've definitely had some technical difficulties, so I'm trying to avoid those as much as possible. So yeah, going back to your goals and your purpose. The biggest sale and the most important sale, and by the way, this is a whole nother topic that I've talked about too, about everybody being involved in sales. Everybody is involved with sales. They've been selling their entire life. You just don't realize it. But the biggest sale you're going to make is to yourself. When you just need to reinforce your conviction in yourself, because once you establish that, it's going to be very easy for you to project that to other individuals and get them to be on board with you, and to get them to put their trust in you, and to get them to believe in you that what you're saying is true, and that what you're saying is going to happen, and that you're going to make it happen. And so it's very important to get convicted on yourself and your purpose and find out what it is that you're good at, what it is you're confident with, and how you can help somebody with that conviction that you have. because everybody's got that ability. Everybody does. And like I said, going back to my purpose, I really just enjoy helping people find what that is and harnessing that and really putting it out into the universe and to get that attention for positivity. And so I talked a little bit about the goal setting once a year. So yeah, that is really the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. So, being 100% sold on yourself is a great way to end this podcast, I think. So think about what I'm going to ask you guys to challenge yourself from now until the rest of the year. Here's a challenge. Here's an exercise for you to do. I'm doing it. I've done it already. What goal can you set for yourself for you to achieve from now until the end of the year? So you got a little bit more than a month, basically a month. All right. Let's not wait until New Year's. What's one thing and don't think about what's achievable. Don't think about what's attainable. Don't think about what's realistic. Just think of a goal that you want to achieve, and think about, even if it seems like you can't hit that goal by the end of the year, act as if you can, and then set your targets in alignment with that to move that needle towards that goal. So that when the end of the year comes, you can at least tell yourself like, hey, hopefully you've hit your goal. If you hit your goal, that's great. But if you didn't, then you can at least maybe look at it and say, hey, I didn't hit my goal, but I can feel it right around the corner. These things that I did to move me towards my goal have been put into motion, and all I need to do is X, Y, Z now, and that thing is done. That goal is going to be hit. It's going to be achieved. So I'm going to challenge you guys to do that. Set a goal. Set a goal to be completed by the end of the year, all right? And make it ridiculous. Make it a high goal, whatever that may be. Think about what you value, what you want to get involved in, and set that goal. And then start thinking of ways, or I would encourage writing it down, by the way. Start writing down some targets and actions that you can be taking right now, today, or tomorrow morning, to get this goal in motion, to get these actions in motion to work you towards your goal. All right. So that's a quick little assignment that I'm gonna encourage you guys to do. And I would say, so that's pretty much it, guys. But the quick question of the day that I was just gonna ask you a minute ago was, I also want you to write down what your purpose is. And it's okay if you don't know. I didn't know for 38 years. Trust me, it's okay. But the whole purpose of this exercise is to just get you thinking about your purpose. If you don't know, then at least you don't know, and you know where you're at with that, and you know that you haven't even got there yet. So maybe think about what potential things, potential purposes that you may have. Think of the things you value. Think of the things you enjoy doing. Think of the things that you get a lot of enjoyment out of, and that, I think it's usually along the lines of somebody helping one another. And so if there's something that you can help each other with, or it's something that you can help another person with, write that down, because there may be a way that you can align your purpose with that. And your purpose could change. It really can. My purpose might change 5 years from now. It might change 10 years from now. I don't know. I'm pretty dead set on my purpose right now, and I really don't see it changing much. It might alter a little bit, but generally speaking, my purpose is going to remain the same, because I enjoy that. I get pure enjoyment out of doing that, out of helping people, and like I said, making a massive impact on people. And I always have. I just didn't know that was something I could do for a living and for the rest of my life, and to also be good at, I guess. And so I have been doing it. I have provided a lot of value. I've been very helpful for people. I've been people use me for a tool. It's great to actually be in that position to help people. And so I'm going to encourage you, look into yourself a little bit, do a little bit of soul searching, and think about what your potential purpose is and how you can start adjusting your life to accommodate you getting towards fulfilling that purpose in your life. All right. So anyways, I think I've ranted quite a bit. Talked a little bit about the 4 levels of action, the 4 degrees of action. We talked about goals, talked about goal setting, and I talked about purpose a little bit. I actually didn't even want to talk about purpose, or I didn't even have that on the agenda. But I think having the purpose talk is definitely something that's worth having an entire podcast about, in my opinion. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value just in this quick little 1 hour episode here. So anyways, I appreciate anybody who's watched this, anybody who's watching the live stream, and anybody who watches this posted content after this. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. Comment below. Give me some feedback. And keep your eyes peeled, because like I said, I'm going to have some interesting guests on the podcast, and we're going to be talking a lot about some different things in and around self-development and self-improvement, because that's what I enjoy talking about most. So stick around. And one more time, I'm going to give you guys the plugs. So we do live streams on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And then you're going to see some posted content on Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify. So keep your eyes peeled. Like I said, give me a subscription, follow me, like me, give me a little smiley face emoji. I love those. And so we'll see you guys next time, all right? We'll aim for next Saturday. Hopefully I can get a guest lined up for that Saturday. If not, we'll see what I can whip up for you guys and see what we can chat about. So until then, enjoy the rest of your evening, all right? And take care. Talk to you guys later.